Hi, guys. It's Kim. Just trying to get things a little more level here. You guys are a little crooked. What's going on? Let's see if I can fix that. You're perched on some pillows. Because I'm coming to you from the sofa because I wanted to be comfortable. And yet, here I am on a Tuesday night. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. I'm here. I'm here for you. Bring your questions. Tuesday is a big gym day for me, so I'm a little tired. Not drunk, if that was the expression that you thought I had. Those of you that have been following me, I especially post on Instagram about it. I've really upped my gym presence from like basically non-existent to working out 3 times a week. And today I did a 2-hour session. So I'm like, wow, I'm tired. So hopefully I make some sense tonight. We'll see what happens. Glad to have you here. I'm feeling a little warm. So the redhead, I'm not a redhead, but my skin thinks I am. So see that red mark on my chest every time I get like flushed. I don't blush as much. It's right there. It's so irritating. Anyway, people are always like, you have a little sunburn. I'm like, no, so it's just the way it is. So, hey, Ukiah. Hey, Sheena. Nice to have you here. Siri decides to come to the party all the time. Go away, Siri. Siri, go away. Go away. I don't know how to stop that. Anyway, so I did my gym routine today. And that was great. It's really super challenging. Oh, hey, Jean. Oh, I'm glad you're recovering. I'm hoping you're doing all right. It is really challenging. So for anyone that's been on a long-term weight loss journey, like me, which probably is most of you, is when you start doing significant efforts to try and add muscle mass, it's very challenging because my relationship with the scale is inappropriate, right? Like I learned how to get all right with some fluctuations and things like that, but my weight is just going up a little bit and up a little bit and up a little bit, which it should if I'm trying to gain muscle mass, right? But my brain is like, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. And it's really an interesting new edge, as they say. So yeah, super interesting. And my pants fit the same way. And I keep having to say, Kim, your pants fit. It's not body fat. It's a good thing because anyway, so new challenge. And I'm loving the challenge of it. So, you always have to expand your horizons a bit. What else is going on? I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about something that came up. Hey guys, if you have questions, put them in the comments and I'll start answering them. I was thinking about something today and I thought I'd start out by talking about it, which is some people, anytime they try for like a change, right? So I'll give an example. Someone decides, I want to get back on keto. Maybe they've been keto in the past. They like keto. They know keto works for them in terms of their fat loss goals, but they've been binging for a while. They like fell off and they've been binging. And then every time they try and get back on keto, they start binging more. Like there's anxiety, there's panic. And so I want to talk about this situation. Like, how do you get back on track when you're somebody in a very active, I'm just going to say it like it is, people, a very active eating disorder, right? I've been there. So what do you do? What do you do? It feels like a trap, right? When you're like, I am in like the depth of my disease. I am in the depths of my eating disorder. It has got me. It is like the Kraken, right? And it's wrapped all of its tentacles around me. And every time I feel like I'm trying to, I get one arm free, it pulls me back in and all I can do is binge. I don't know if this is familiar territory to anyone, but that's where I used to live, right? And if this is you, hopefully I can help talk to this point. If this is no longer you, maybe you can identify in the past, right? So that place where you cannot get escape velocity, right? You cannot get out of the orbit of this this binge eating. So the first thing I want to say is the least effective thing you can do is try harder, right? Restrict more, be stricter. I don't actually think that's going to help. Although strict is a can be interpreted in a variety of ways. But the first thing I want to say is if you are in the depths of this sucking into the pit of despair eating issue, I think the first thing that you have to calm yourself down with is I don't have to be on a diet. I do not have to restrict my food. I can make food choices. I'm in control. You need to find a way to just get like one leg up and over the wall, right? Just to try and start to tame the spiral. And so what worked for me, and there is more than one approach, but I'll tell you what worked for me. Anybody else who had something that worked, the first thing I had to do was just change the relationship. Well, that's more of a long-term thing. Let me say like the immediate thing is I had to stop eating the binge foods, the trigger foods. So I just had to draw a line. And people often will act like that's going to naturally happen. That's not naturally going to happen. You will find a way to get these things unless you don't allow these things. A great reality is if the food is not in your hands or in your presence, you can't eat it. You can't eat it if it's not in the room. I think that's just a practical reality. And so if you're in the depths of that binge eating, you can't be in the presence of these foods. That is for me the way that I had to do it. So one of the things so if you live alone, that's fairly simple. Don't buy them, don't bring them into your house. If you live with other people, you need to have a talk with the other people and say, I'm not saying these foods can never be in our house, right? Like, don't worry about the future. Say, for right now, I need them not in the house. I don't care what you do out of the house. Eat whatever you want. I'm not directing what you should eat, but I'm asking for your help that I need the house to feel a little safer for me because I'm feeling very unsafe right now. And this is a big deal. And so, hopefully your family members or your roommates or whoever lives with you can understand that. Now, if they can't, if you live in some group environment where that's just not a possibility, then I would make plans that include you creating blinders. So that is my shelf. That is not my cabinet. That is not my whatever, right? I only eat from this section. And the things outside of that aren't yours. They're not for you. So control your environment. Now, you won't live here forever in this environment. I mean, in this space. Like right now in my kitchen are hundreds of thousands of calories of things that I choose not to eat. But I choose not to eat them. I choose not to eat them, and it's not a hard choice anymore. But once upon a time, it was a hard choice, and I had to set parameters around me to keep me on the rails. So if you're someone who's struggling in the depths of their addiction right now, I need you to take it seriously. And that means talking to the people around you who aren't taking it seriously, or maybe you're not instructing to take you seriously about it. Get their help, work with them, make your environment one in which you can succeed. And then little by little, you work on those things. Sylvia says, rules in my house, I can't have my trigger foods in my eye line. Right. I mean, if there was a plate of fried potatoes in front of me right now, like right here, though I could not eat them, I would be putting almost all of my attention on not eating them. That's no way to live. So I'd be like, let's just not have those in my eyesight. Let's move them on out. They're not going to be in front of me. So you need to find a way to make your home environment, your eating environment, safe for you right now. And know that this will get better. But right now you might have to take fairly extreme measures. And then in terms of eating, don't overly restrict. Don't be super hungry. Eat to nourish yourself. Eat the kinds of foods you know keep you on path, on track. And then we can work on the details later. But the first thing is you have to put that binging behemoth in its cage. And so you have to create an environment that will work for you. Okay, so hopefully that helped. Let me see what comments I missed. Carnivore and Coffee says, I remind myself the things I crave aren't going there anywhere. They'll be here in a month, 6 months, next year. I'll have another opportunity, but right now I don't eat them, right? I often say to myself, I know what a Big Mac tastes like. It always tastes the same. I don't need to try that. I know what it tastes like, right? Bob says, you diet when you buy it, don't buy it. Right. Kathy says, that has been me for sure. I fight that binge mentality when under extreme stress or duress, but not anything like I did before. The monster is tamed and caged. I will not say forever, though it is my forever goal. Right. Sheena says the triggers don't bother him anymore, but it took years. Yeah, it takes time. Give yourself time, right? Give yourself the time you need. So, all right. What other questions do we have? I'm a little warm. It was warmer today than I thought it was going to be. I am incapable of holding a mug by the handle. Does anyone else have this? I don't like holding the handle. I like to hold the mug. The thing. Colleen says, I try to remind myself that binging will not solve my problems. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and then like yesterday, so I wasn't feeling bingy yesterday, but I was starving. I was starving. Starving Marvin, as they say. I had worked out hard on Sunday, but I hadn't been super hungry on Sunday. I mean, I'd eaten probably about 1,800 calories that day, which is about my normal maintenance amount. But then Monday somehow, just like raring, hunger, starving, just so starving. So I ate extra yesterday, and then today I'm not starving. So it was like, wow, your body does eventually learn to regulate what you might need to eat. You're not there yet, but you can get there. Carnivore and Coffee says, can you please remind me of my cottage cheese and yogurt breakfast? Yes, I love this. It is simply Good Culture cottage cheese, which is Good Culture is the best cottage cheese. I don't like all brands of cottage cheese. There is a real difference between cottage cheese. Good Culture is the best cottage cheese I have ever had. So Good Culture cottage cheese mixed with Fage, which is spelled F-A-G-E, yogurt. And I just mix them like 50-50, or sometimes I want a different type. Like obviously the cottage cheese is chunkier and the yogurt is creamier. I just mix them together, and I make sure to get so my minimum protein amount for any meal is 30 grams. I get at least 30 grams. I get anywhere from 30 to 60 grams in a meal, but I make sure that my breakfast is my first meal of the day is at least 30 grams. And so I'll have that cottage cheese yogurt mix for that a lot. And I'll throw a little fruit in there. Okay. And maybe a few drops of stevia glycerate to sweeten it up. Yummy. Stevia glycerate is like the best pantries. It lasts forever because you just use a little bit. If anybody doesn't have stevia glycerite, get some. Order it on Amazon. It is stevia mixed with glycerin, and it is not bitter. It's delicious. It's very useful. Very good. Like it a lot. Perfect for yogurt. Lisa says, what is my opinion on liverwurst? Liverwurst. It's great. Liverwurst is great. I don't remember what exactly is in liverwurst, but liverwurst is made with liver, and some other things. Now there are binders and fillers in liverwurst often, so you have to pay attention to the brand and how they make it and what they put in it, and it has the kinds of things you want to be eating. But there are certainly better and worse brands of liverwurst in terms of the quality. But I like liverwurst, and I think it's very tasty. And yeah. Terry says, is it true that you count half the carbs in yogurt as it has active live cultures? Well, this is a great question. So I have, this is me. I'm like the annoying 3-year-old, just like, why? That's how I know things. So I had to go to a friend, a person I know, an acquaintance who is a yogurt maker. I don't think he makes yogurt anymore, but anyway, like a commercial yogurt maker that was sold in Whole Foods. And I was like, I hear people say that you shouldn't count all of the carbs in yogurt. What's that about? And so he told me that it can vary from brand to brand, but the reality is, in fact, because the culture different, like the communal culture, not the yogurt culture, because people care about not wanting more carbs these days a lot. He says most yogurt makers actually test their carb count after the active cultures have done their business, which means that no, the carb amount on the carton is actually accurate currently. So in terms of saying only count half of them. So here's the thing. If you're making yogurt and you're like, I'm putting a cup of, this is not how you make yogurt. I'm putting a cup of whole milk in to ferment. Now, when a yogurt maker has the choice of saying either counting by ingredients in terms of their nutrients or counting by the end result. So they could say, okay, well, a cup of yogurt has 16 grams of carbohydrates. So I think that's right. Anyway, so 16 grams of carbohydrates. So I'm going to just put on the label 16 grams of carbohydrates because it has something under 16 grams. Like it started with 16 grams of carbohydrates. But when you allow those live active cultures to do their thing, you might end up with 8. And so that's where that came from, this idea that you could count like half the carbs. But according to this guy who I know who makes yogurt that they sell at Whole Foods, he said, no, most companies don't want to do that. They don't want to say 16 when it's really 8 because people won't buy it. They want to say as few carbohydrates as possible. So most makers these days count the post. Is it fermentation on yogurt? But that fermentation process, they count the actual carbs. So there you go. But as Carnivore and Coffee says, I don't sweat the carbs in yogurt at all. I do not think it's a problem. None of us became diabetic from eating unsweetened, unflavored yogurt. So our body does pretty well on those kinds of carbs. Yeah. All right. That being, and I don't know that anyone could eat 50 carbs worth of yogurt without feeling pretty ill. So, I just don't sweat it. Now, your results may vary. Some people actually do have a glucose response to yogurt. They're very sensitive to dairy and they don't do well with yogurt. If that's you, don't eat yogurt. Don't eat the yogurt if it raises your blood sugar. It doesn't most people's, but it does for some. I have some clients who can't eat yogurt. All right. Carnivore and Coffee says I became diabetic from the food truck and Twizzlers. Right. Sheena says makes her own kefir and let it burn off more of the sugar. I like it tart. Exactly. Let's call it culturalization. All right, Terry, let's. Izela says, I just listened to a podcast today, and the suggestion was to associate processed food with the outcome inflammation, headache, pain, weight gain instead of instant gratification of the taste. Yeah. So humans are terrible at prioritizing long term over short term. We are very, very bad at it, which is why it's so hard to get started in the gym, right? Because like you go to the gym one day and you lift some weights and then you're like, I don't have a big bump here. Well, what? How I did the thing, right? That you have to do it a lot for a long time. You don't see the results right away. You don't eat a pastry. You see 0 results right away. There are 0 results from not eating that pastry. Well, unless you're like monitoring your blood sugar, right? We're very bad at prioritizing long-term over short-term, but it's the right thing to do. Debbie says half the planet doesn't use little handles on things. So Jean says just bought hemp hearts, low in carbs, high in fat and protein. Okay, on keto, love hemp hearts. Fabulous thing. Love them. I use them in baking. They have kind of a bready taste to me. So like if you throw a couple tablespoons of hemp hearts in some like egg white based bread recipe you're using, it'll give kind of a breadier taste. I'm pro hemp hearts. If in a perfect world, when I have all the ingredients in my house, which is not always the case, necessity is the mother of invention sometimes, but I do part ground pork rinds like pork panko and part hemp hearts as a binder filler for meatloaf. It's fabulous. So thumbs up on hemp hearts. They have sort of a nutty, almost grain-like flavor. So it's kind of a nice thing. Some people sprinkle them on yogurt. Some people make something called note meal out of them, like no oatmeal. So it's kind of like a hot cereal kind of thing. So yeah, totally keto. All right. What else is going on? By the way, people have always said they thought that this mug said K for keto. And I like that concept. It's actually a Scrabble mug my mom gave me like for Christmas years ago, and it's just the right size. So my name starts with a K. Okay. Kathy says note meal with hemp hearts is delicious. Yeah, it is. I am not a huge hot cereal fan, so I haven't really made it, but I hear people who like hot cereal really like it. If I lived somewhere where it was very cold all the time, I probably would like hot cereal more. It's not that hot here. I mean, it's cool in the mornings and everything, but I still like yogurt in the morning. Carnivore and Coffee says all my mugs are obscene. Oh, you guys, I have to say, I try so hard for you. I have such a potty mouth. Such a potty mouth. My mom is from Queens. It's just part of my vocabulary to swear. I try so hard on social media not to. So you're welcome. But I feel you, carnivore and keto. Lisa says, I used to put hemp hearts on my salad and also in a protein shake. Yeah, they're great. I go through phases of like having them in the house and not, but yeah, they're a great ingredient. Useful. I think they do spoil fairly rapidly. So I would keep them in the freezer. You guys know, right? To keep a lot of almost pretty much all your nuts and nut flours, but not coconut flour, which is not a nut actually, in your freezer. They will last longer. So on the door of my freezer, we've got all my like little baking supplies and nuts and things like that. So, but coconut flour, strangely, does not like the freezer. Maybe because it's from a very hot country. I don't know. countries, regions. And so that I keep in a cool, dark cabinet rather than the freezer. Anyway, okay, what other questions do you have? What is happening in the world? I don't know. What is happening with your keto? I am, I've been thinking today I recorded a podcast talking about how a lot of people can you guys guess? Here we go. We'll play a guessing game. You guys guess with me. When I tell people who haven't been following me, maybe, where have they been? That I've lost 100 pounds, what is one of the top 3 questions I get? Write in the comments. Let's see what people think. What do you think I'm thinking of? See if you can read. Can you read my mind? Can you read my mind? Okay, nobody's commenting. Okay, I will just go on with this because this will be boring if you just wait for people to come. Oh, did you have gastric surgery? No. How did you do it? Okay, they're coming in now. How did you do it? How did you do it? Is all the questions. Okay. You know what was funny? Carnivore and keto coffee. I keep wanting to call it carnivore and keto, but that's not it. It is once upon a time, people on the internet were mean to me. And just happens. And there was this whole thread at one time analyzing how I looked. This was years ago. And half the people were like, she hasn't lost enough weight to be considered anything. And then the other half of the people were like, she's had gastric bypass surgery, so we shouldn't listen to her. I was like, make up your mind. Do you want to troll me about being fat or do you want to troll me about having weight loss surgery? Which is it? Anyway, I can laugh about it. Appreciate it, homies. Okay, so none of you are saying it, but it's a good one. How long did it take you? How long did it take you? I lost 100 pounds. How long did it take you? That is the question. And so I did a podcast today about that being actually a thought process. See, this proves that all of you are very successful people. Because when people immediately respond with how long did it take you, I'm like ruining the podcast for people watching this. It's actually a type of mindset that keeps them from being long-term successful, in my opinion. Because if you're super focused on getting it done quickly, you tend to regain the weight. You tend not to keep it off, right? And so it's super important that you go at a speed that is right for you on your journey. So that was my podcast today. Anyway, there's more in that. All right, let's see what other questions did we get? Do I have loose skin? That's a good question about it. Yeah, I do. Silent Runner mentions Doug McGuff Body by Science, highly recommended for you weightlifting. All right. All right. Mary says, I was buying lard the other day and a lady said, are you baking pies? And I said, no, I cook with keto. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Oh, Sheena, it's okay. You guys, I appreciate your love. I got over it. It was good for me. The internet is this terrible neighborhood sometimes. Terry says, good point. It's been 2 years, lost 116 pounds, still have 50 to 60 more to go. Yeah. And so for a lot of us, I mean, I'll just admit it. There is a high school between my gym and my house. It is a 2.5 mile walk. I actually found out. I was like, how long is it? Okay, it's 2.5 mile walk from my gym to my house. And so I walk home from the gym to get a little bit more exercise. And I have to pass by this high school. And somehow I always time it so that I'm passing by this high school right when all the high schoolers get out for lunch. And it is the funniest thing, but suddenly I'm like passing through these throngs of high school students. I am a 45-year-old woman and I get self-conscious like I'm back in high school. Does this happen to anyone else? I'm like, what is wrong with me? So, like, it is, I think for everybody is probably the answer, but like it is so easy to get self-conscious about the way you look, that not being good enough, being weird, just self-conscious. We're all self-conscious. And I think, when we're on our keto journey, um it it can be easy to feel like you're not doing it fast enough, you're not doing it well enough, you should look like this. And to Terry's point, like 116 pounds, that's incredible. That is incredible and should be celebrated. And we shouldn't have to prove anything. We shouldn't have to say, but you should have seen me before, right? We all deserve celebrating on our journey. Anyway, Jean says, it's slow for me, wondering if I'm more insulin resistant than I thought, looking for solutions like intermittent fasting. So it's just going to be slow. It's just going to be slow for a lot of us. So Jean, what I would look at is like, are you tracking? Do you know what your food intake is? And evaluate that kind of thing. We can speed it up a little bit, but we cannot make it super fast for most of us. It's not appropriate. If you are, so I don't want to use words that trigger a lot of people, but there are some triggering concepts in this. So if you are what is considered very obese, so your body fat, this is not where they draw the lines, people, but like if you have 60, 70% body fat, then you're safer losing at a faster rate. But if you're down into those last 40, 50 pounds, and especially 10 to 20, losing faster is going to put you in a very bad place, because when your body fat is lower, if you're losing too fast, you lose more muscle mass rather than slower. So when you have a lot of body fat, you have more flexibility in terms of being able to lose faster. But when you're down into the smaller numbers, you're safer losing slower. And that doesn't mean that if you're very overweight that you should lose very fast. You should lose at a pace that works for you. Let's see. Can I talk about how to talk to family members who are convinced keto is bad for kidneys and kidney stones? Great. Great question. So we'll role play a little bit here. So if a family member came to me and said, hey, Kim, I'm very concerned. I've heard that keto can cause kidney stones. I would say, I really appreciate your concern. I know you care about me. I know you want ultimately what's best for me. And unfortunately, gosh, the internet, it's such a minefield, isn't it? Right? You gotta make them right on some level, right? Gosh, the internet, there's so much information out there. And I can understand that you've probably read something that made you feel kind of concerned about that. And I really appreciate your concern. I mean, I really, really appreciate that you're looking out for me. The reality is it's just not a problem. It's not a concern. And in fact, the stuff that you might read that says that it's an issue, it's not correct. And so I love that you are concerned for me, but I did my research and I know this is appropriate for my body. I'm not going to tell you have to do it, but for me, it's the way that I want to live and what's appropriate for my body. And I have looked into it and I know I feel very comfortable with the parameters. If they argue with you at that point, if they say like, yeah, but blah, 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 it's like, great. If you want to bring me some credible research on that, I'm totally open to reading it and going over the study. And maybe we can talk about, where this study has some valid points after I read it. But until you provide me with the information, the study you're getting your information from, I have nothing to respond to for you. So let's stop talking about it. And if they bring it up again, say, hey, the last time we talked, I said, if you want to bring me some studies that show that keto does whatever they say keto does, you want to bring me some studies that say keto harms your kidneys, I'm happy to review those studies and then we can discuss them. But you haven't given them to me yet, so I have nothing to respond to. So I'm going to ask that we close this topic. They come to you again, say, hey, you still haven't given me those studies that we discussed you were going to give me before we talked about this again. So I'm not going to talk about this with you until you do that. But I really appreciate how concerned you are. You are allowed to have a boundary where you don't have to defend yourself against things that are ridiculous. Just like if they came to you and said, I don't know, whatever, all sorts of lies. I think your husband's cheating on you. Do you have any evidence that my husband is cheating on me? Did you see him cheating on me? Do you know what our relationship agreements are? Right? Like, if it's ridiculous, then you just say, if you have actual evidence, I'm happy to talk about it. But until then, this is kind of a useless conversation. But say it in a very nice way and thank them for their concern. Don't get defensive. Don't get defensive because you have nothing to be defensive about. If you can manage to do that, it will stop bothering you. Okay, there we go. There's my role play for today. Tally says, should we go under 1,000 calories? I feel like we're not losing enough. If we feel like we're not losing enough, I can't read. There are some that do 800 calories. So absolutely, there are some approaches that will drop your calories to 600 or 800 calories. Protein sparing modified fasting is one of those approaches. Now, I'm not saying that there are some people like the Emirates who use it intermittently, and that's not the same as doing it continuously. Like if you have a day where you eat 800 calories, but the next day you ate 2,000 calories, that averages out. So, just so you know. So I do not believe we should be eating 600, 800, 1,000 calories on a long-term basis. No, I do not. I do not think that is appropriate. A day of it, okay. There are just days we're busy, not hungry, things happen, whatever. I do utilize short periods of very low calories in my life and in some, not all, some of my clients' lives. So like for me, I might, like I said earlier, my maintenance right now is around 1,800 calories because I'm not in a place where I'm trying to lose body fat. I might then be in a place where I am trying to lose body fat, which I do not recommend trying to do simultaneously as you are starting a new workout routine, which is why I'm in maintenance. And so then I might drop I will drop how much I eat. And I've been known to go, and I'm not a short person, as low as like 1,200 for some period of time. I don't stay there very long. So it's very conditional, Tally. I'll put it that way. I don't run fat loss for any more than 12 weeks at a time. And I certainly wouldn't be at 800 or 1,000 calories for all 12 of those weeks. And I actually wouldn't try to go there really at all in that period of time. So it's very dependent on the situation. You're saying if we feel like we're not losing enough, I want to say as I said earlier, if your body fat percentage is below 40% as a safe cutoff, I wouldn't necessarily try to lose any more than 1% of your body weight a week. And that's at the top of the scale. And so, how slow is too slow? We get this idea that we're supposed to lose 3, 4, 5 pounds a week. That's ridiculous. We're not supposed to lose weight that fast. Now, if you weigh 600 pounds, you will lose weight you might lose weight that fast. But for those of us that are trying to lose 20, 40 pounds, you're not supposed to lose weight that fast. If you lose weight that fast, I will guarantee you, well, first you're losing lean body mass. You're also losing a lot of water. Like it'll happen the first week or two, right? That's water weight. That's not fat loss. You cannot lose five if you only, if you're 600 pounds, it's different. If you only have 20 pounds of body fat to lose, it is just physiologically impossible to lose 5 pounds of body fat in a week. I think even if you don't eat anything. I mean, I'd have to do the math on that, but it's not appropriate. I'll say it that way. Okay, good. I'm glad you like my responses, Jean. Take back control. You are the adult. Is having 2 servings of element a day too much? No, not necessarily. It's 1,000 milligrams of sodium. 1,000 milligrams of sodium is about 2/5 of the average sodium needs of a person a day. So no, it kind of depends what else is going on. If you're like, all you eat is bacon and pork rinds, that's got a lot of sodium in it too. So if you add that, it just depends what else is going on in terms of your sodium needs. But some people need a ton more sodium than that. Some need less. So it's very personalized. But I would say certainly I don't see any problem with 2 servings of element a day. Joy says, how can I stop the urge to snack at night? I'm not hungry. It's just a habit. I am a night owl and do not go to bed after midnight. Totally hear you. I want to snack at night too. I love snacking. I love eating. I would eat all day long if it had no negative repercussions. Sadly, it has negative repercussions. So I just have to talk to myself. So after dinner or after dessert, whatever time you close your meal window, I only allow myself liquids at that point. So I can have tea, can have water, things like that. But I just tell myself no. I just say no. I'm done eating for the day. No. Tell yourself no. So Joy, if you need, but the thing I would say is in the transition, crossing my legs here, in the transition to, from yes to no, you might need to take some tactical changes, such as eating a really big dinner. So start eating a really big dinner, the kind of dinner that when you get up from it, you're like, oh, I'm a little too full. That was a little too much food. I'm a little too full. I'm not saying do this forever, but if you do that, likely that evening, you won't feel as inclined to snack. Do that again the next day and be like, I'm not as inclined to snack tonight either. And after a couple of days of not snacking at night, you have a new habit. You don't snack at night. And if you get the urge to snack at night, you say to yourself, no, I don't do that. I do not do that. That's how I handle it. Someone brought out Sassy Kim. I'm usually Sassy Kim. I just sometimes have her under wraps. I always say I play much nicer on the internet than I do in real life. Terry says, maybe it's just me, but sometimes I think people who've been heavy long-term, we have issues setting boundaries. So totally, Terry, I actually think that one of the reasons, this is a mind bender, people, one of the reasons we got heavy is because we can't set boundaries. Think about that. So I'm going to teach you a term, sublimate, which means we take one need and we fill it with something else. It can mean other things, but that's what I mean here. So we might have a need for calming, to reduce our anxiety. And we're going to fill that need by eating food, right? So we sublimate our desire for comfort into getting filled by eating. And so when a lot of us who became heavy, we didn't know how to get what we needed in multiple arenas of our life. And so we ate. So like, I need this, I ate, and I needed that, and I ate, and I needed this, and I ate, right? So we just go to food, we go to food. And the reason a lot of us did that, one of the reasons is we didn't set good boundaries in our life. And so we got disrespected, we got used, We cared more about what others thought than our own actions, right? And so our lack of boundaries actually contributed to our weight issues. Crazy thought. And so we are learning at 40 and 50 and 60 and 70 how to create food boundaries where we didn't learn. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of us didn't learn like real important personal relationship boundaries as children. And so we're learning them now, and it is hard. So totally, Terry, totally. Janelle says, what are my recommendations for macros for weight loss? Well, that's a great question. It really honestly depends. So what I usually suggest doing is what I really suggest doing is so I got sidetracked, but I read ahead and then track your current macros. So just what am I eating now? Let me start tracking it. Okay, what's my weight doing? Is it going up or is it going down or is it staying the same? Okay, then look at your protein. Always start with protein. Am I getting enough protein? Generally speaking, I would say the easy way to figure out getting enough protein is take your desired body weight in pounds and eat somewhere between 0.8 and 1 gram per pound of desired weight. So if you want to weigh 150 pounds, eat between, gosh, what is 0.8 of 150? Oh no. Do the math. Like it's like 120 grams to 150 grams, right? Like so 150 times 0.8 and 150 times 1, somewhere in that range. Use a calculator. And so get your protein into that range. Now look at the macros you've been eating. If your weight's been stable, once you put in that macro for the appropriate amount of protein, and then check your carbs. Carbs, if you're doing keto, are going to be pretty low. So make sure those are in check. If they're not in check, bring them into check. I suggest 20 grams. So now you know what your protein is supposed to be, and you know what your carbs are supposed to be. So now fat is the only variable macro. And so I would look at how many calories. So calories is just the sum total of all the macros, right? So if you're using a tracker, it will do all this for you. So let's say you were eating 2,000 calories altogether before, and now you've dialed in your protein, you've dialed in your fat, your carbs, and now you see, okay, that adds up to 1,000 calories. So if I were just to eat the same amount of calories now, but redistributed, there's 1,000 calories left for fat. And if you're trying to lose body fat, usually you'd bring that number down. So you'd figure out, okay, so if I were trying to maintain, I would be eating 100 grams of this. Now I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to bring it down by, say, 20%. I'm going to eat 80 grams of it. And then see how that goes. Guess and check. Did I lose an appropriate amount of body fat or weight, over this week? Now, the first week, don't count that. It's water weight. It doesn't matter. Keep going. By week 2 and week 3, you'll have data you can actually trust. And check. Did I lose what I thought I should? Do I need to go down? Do I need to go up? That's my best generalized information. Hopefully that helped. Joy says, please do not say go to bed earlier. Oh, no. You don't have to. No, I'm not going to say that. I did not say that, Joy. Okay. Debbie says, I have a gym where I live, but I'm clueless how to use the equipment. I hear you, Debbie. So let me tell you, when I joined this gym and I was like, I'm going to have to hire a personal trainer. I've worked out in the past. I'm not clueless, but I am insecure about everything. Clearly, if you watch this whole live, you'll know that. But I was like, I need help. I can't do this myself. And but then I tried to schedule a session with a trainer and I tried to schedule a set. I was like, it just wasn't happening. And I was like, this is way too long. So literally, I would go to a machine at the gym. I was like, I'm just going to I'm going to be at the gym for 2 hours today. I'm just going to do it. And I would go to a machine, look at the machine. Well, first I asked a friend, what are good exercises? So I had that. But You don't need to do that. I went to YouTube and I would be like, this machine says it's the leg extension machine. YouTube. I had my earbud in, I'd have my phone, I'd look at the machine, I'd YouTube. How do I use the leg extension machine or, leg extension? And I'd watch the video on using the leg extension machine and then I'd do it. And always start with a weight that feels easy. It'll get harder. So do it a couple times with the weight that feels easy. Don't let your ego screw you up. Go easy. Then you can do another set of them a little higher. And then you can do another set of them a little higher. Don't hurt yourself. But the first couple of weeks, just focus on learning how to use the machines. And YouTube can be very helpful. That's literally what I've done. Sheena says, I have a question. If I'm doing BBBE, so that's the bacon butter beef eggs, I think. If I drink a protein drink, will that knock me out of ketosis? So I'm going to say, I am not an admin for the BBBE, but I can tell you a protein drink is not a BBB or an E. So it's not included in the BBBE challenge. So there you go. But if your question is different and it's just, will a protein drink knock you out of ketosis? Depends on what's in the protein drink. Protein in and of itself, if you eat a very low fat, very high protein diet, you will indeed have lower ketones. Is that a problem? In my opinion, not really. Joy 80, I struggled with this since, let's see. Yeah, eat a big dinner. Yeah, Carnivore said the same thing. Mindy suggests Debbie Martin YouTube videos. Also, most gym staff will have staff to show you how to use the equipment. Absolutely, free of charge. Okay, Tally says, what supplements should we take? I take so many probiotics, NAC, saw palmetto, berberine, vitamin K. Do you count the calories in that? Okay, so I don't like taking a lot of supplements. I just find it irritating. But I can tell you what I take. I'm not a medical provider. I do not give medical advice. So I can't tell you what you should be taking, but I can tell you what I take. So, and I think most people are deficient I know that most people, I don't know if you are deficient, but most people are deficient in vitamin D3K2. So I take D3K2. I've had it tested and yes, I am low in D3. And then I also take magnesium. I don't take it every day. Sometimes I forget, but I take magnesium on the regular. I also now just recently started taking creatine, but I don't know that that's something that everyone needs to take, but I did and I immediately gained some weight. So that was exciting. You retain more water when you take it. So if you're somebody that pays a lot of attention to the scale, be prepared for that. But I'm not recommending that one. I'm just saying if you do. So, but for me, I think almost everyone probably should be taking, again, not medical advice, but the literature shows almost everyone is deficient in D and magnesium. So I take D3 with K2 and I take magnesium like a glycinate or a 3-in-8. That's pretty much the basics of what I take. That's pretty much it. You say, do you count the carbs in that? I don't take supplements that have enough carbs to count. So if your supplements have a lot of carbs in them, enough that makes you question whether you should be counting the carbs in them, then you should look for different supplements. And yes, supplements in everything. Carbs in everything count. It's not like your body has a different place where it puts the, supplements. Oh, that's not food. All right. Sorry, guys, I'm going to run through some of these. Jean says, do you advise I check ketones with a meter? I don't know if I've ever been in ketosis. So I do think it can be useful for some of us to check your ketones, to just know what that's like. But is it necessary? I certainly know a lot of people who've had long-term weight loss and health success without ever checking their ketones. So if you're the type of person where data really helps you, great, check them. Keto Mojo is a great thing to have, but long-term, it's not a requirement for success. Let's see. Ken says knee gout is better. Well, great. Linda mentions Dr. B's mineral drops are very good too. Yeah, absolutely. Those mineral drops are great if you tolerate them. Absolutely. They have a full complement of vitamins and minerals in them. Rose says, what brand of D3K2? Well, I don't remember what brand I take. My favorite vitamin brand across the board is Thorne, but if I remember correctly, Thorne didn't have a D3K2. I don't off the top of my head remember what brand I got. It's white and blue with the name Formulations in it. But anyway, I'll report back. All right. Wendy says that is an awesome approach to the gym. Yeah, and now I'm like, what am I, like 6 weeks in? I've been going consistently 3 times a week. I feel less like an idiot. I even met a slightly famous person and we had a chat. And he's like, everyone's real friendly here. And I, now I say things to people. Like there'll be somebody on the bench next to me and I'm doing this thing. And I was like, am I supposed to sit close up or far away on this machine? And he's like, scoot back a little bit. That was all it does. I was like, okay, great. So, there you go. Doctor's Best is a good brand. Yeah, that's I think that is. Yeah, Doctor's Best is a good Doctor's Best is also a good magnesium as well. Anyway, so clearly you can tell I have like a blockade about supplements. I don't love to take them. All right, people, I think we're going to wrap it up for the night. So I hope that you have had a good time with me. I had a good time with you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you tuning in. If you have requests for things you want me to talk about in the future, you let me know. And I will be back here next week. So take care, everybody. Have a good night.